Hey, what's up, APUSH world? We have a video for you today on writing the DBQ. I am going to lay out some tips for you when you are writing your DBQ to help you not only in class, but most importantly for the DBQ you will encounter in May. So let's get going. All right, first thing you should do, APUSH mandates a 15-minute time period in which you are to not write, but simply read through the documents. And the very first thing you should do is read the prompt very, very carefully. Read it once, then read it again to make sure you know specifically what the prompt is asking you to do. It is very imperative that you understand this. You cannot accurately write an essay without knowing what the essay task is asking you to do. So figure out, are you determining the effectiveness of something? If the answer is yes, clearly state whether something was effective in your essay or not. So for example, analyze the effectiveness of the progressive error. You need to make it clear as day in your essay the progressive error was effective or the progressive error was not effective, or overall the progressive error was effective in these areas but not so much in this area here. Make it very clear to the reader. Some essays will ask you to compare and contrast, and if it is doing that, make sure you do both comparing and contrasting. Don't just compare. Note the similarities and the differences. Is the essay prompt asking you to analyze? And by the way, the two most popular ones that you will encounter are analyzing and determining the effectiveness. If it asks you to analyze, you are not just going to list events. Too many people get caught up in just listing events. Here's what happened, here, and then this happens. What you should really focus on and what makes your essay analytical is you describe why these events are important and how they relate to other events. So don't just make a laundry list of things, rather show the dots, show the connections between the events, how one leads to another. That's how you can make your essay an analytical essay. So let's go back to those first 15 minutes. I was just talking about what you should do is just read the documents, summarize them, and list outside info. What I tell my students to do, as you read the document, 2 to 3 sentence word summary to the right of the document. What is it saying in just a couple words? Then to the left of the document, jot down any outside info that you can think of. Documents go in chronological order. So the first document you encounter will be the oldest from that time period. So for example, if the time period is 1920 to 1939, document A will be 1920, and the last document will be 1939. Please make sure you note the author of the document. Sometimes the author will give you some related outside info. So a recent DBQ we did in my class, was analyze the reasons for the U.S. involvement in World War II between 1920 and 1939. Something like that. Why did the U.S. shift its foreign policy? Well, the very first document was from 1920, and the author was Warren G. Harding, and he was talking about isolationism in the United States. Now, nowhere in document A did it say return to normalcy. That is valuable outside info that you could have picked up by simply identifying and noting the author. And again, I can't stress that enough. This can help provide outside info. So there's on average about 10 to 11 documents per DBQ. If you are confused on a document, skip it. Don't waste your time. You do not need to include anywhere near all the documents. In fact, it's best not to. You should probably shoot for about half the documents. So if you don't understand a document, skip it. Don't waste your time. Time is too valuable. Move on to one that you understand more clearly. And if the prompt asks you to determine the effectiveness of a topic, again, let's say the progressive era, as you go through each document, please make a little note. Is this effective or is it ineffective? This will help you when you're referencing documents throughout your essay. Okay, let's get to actually writing the essay now. Make sure you have a very strong intro paragraph, and I do have a video on writing an introductory paragraph and thesis statements. Check out the description below. I always get asked, how long should the essay be? Well, you may not like this answer, but it really depends on the essay topic. Never, ever, ever write an APUSH essay with less than 2 body paragraphs. Do not have one gigantic body paragraph. That is not college writing. You should have a minimum of 2, and in many cases have at least 3 body paragraphs, especially if you have to talk about social, political, and economic effects of something. That's when you can devote 1 paragraph to social, 1 paragraph to political, 1 paragraph to economic. And again, in many cases, you should have at least 3 body paragraphs. Begin each paragraph with a topic sentence that relates to your thesis. So make sure you have that strong thesis in that introductory paragraph, and then each subsequent paragraph should be kind of diving into that thesis a little bit more. And please make sure, guys, you define historical terms. So, for example, if you're writing about the road to World War II and you talk about cash and carry in the Lend-Lease Act, make sure you define what each of those did. Don't just write it out and then move on. Explain it. That will help make your essay more analytical as well. My mom was a nurse forever, and when she turned 40, she kind of had a midlife crisis. We joke about this. She quit being a nurse and went to law school and became a lawyer. She said one of her professors in law school would sing the Wizard of Oz song to the class. We're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz, because. And that professor would sing that, and this is something I try to do in my classes. When in doubt, think in your head, can you say because for a sentence? And if the answer is yes, add more. Read a sentence that you just wrote. If you can add because to that sentence, that means you need to write more down. You should always think because. Can I add more to this sentence? If it's yes, then write more. All right, how do you reference these documents? There's a couple ways. Here is the way that I was taught in an AP Summer Institute. Never, ever write document A says Republican Party opposed World War II in 1940. The document says nothing. The author says it. Instead, you should write or reference the document this way. Many Americans opposed the entrance into World War II even as war raged on in Europe. That makes it a little bit more of your own. That is not word for word from the document. The Republican Party platform from 1940 articulated this exact position. So I am referencing that by saying the Republican Party platform in 1940. Instead of saying document A, which is the Republican Party platform, I'm just simply saying the Republican Party platform. So try not to reference document A, B, C, D, whatever. All right, so miscellaneous tips to help you out. Be very careful when you overgeneralize. Never use the words all or never. And even though I just said never use them, actually don't. You wouldn't say, for example, pre-Civil War, all people living in the South supported slavery. That is not true. Was there a significant chunk of the southern United States that supported slavery? Absolutely, but not everybody living in the South supported slavery. And the biggest thing you could do to help out your essay and to make it sound better is to focus on sophisticated vocabulary. This is something even I'm guilty of in my writing and talking. Instead of writing words like says, states, shows, or feels, you should focus on these words instead. Demonstrates, portrays, depicts, illustrates, symbolizes, exemplifies, articulates, etc. These are words that really have that same meaning, but really helps transform those sentences and make them sound much more powerful. Never, ever, ever use the word I or you in your essay. So, for example, instead of saying, as you can see, the causes of World War I were, then you're going to go on, write this instead. The events that contributed to the outbreak of World War I were. So it's the same thing. There's no I or you in there. And also, instead of saying the causes, kind of a simple word, I wrote contributed to the outbreak. It's saying the exact same thing, but it sounds a little more sophisticated. All right, that's a quick review of DBQ strategies for you for your APUSH exam. Thank you very much for watching. I hope I was able to clarify some things for you. If you have not already, please take a moment and subscribe to my channel. Also, help me spread the word. If you know of anybody who is struggling or would benefit from this video, please share it with them. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to leave them in the comment section below, especially if you feel that you have any tips. Is there something that you do that really helps you out with writing? Please, please, please share them in the comment section below. Thank you guys very much for watching. I do really appreciate it, and have a good day.